So, dear participants, moving ahead with our second session of this STP. In morning also, I just told you all that today we have one another eminent expert personality in the field of environmental geotechnics with us, and I am really thankful that Dr. R.R. Rakesh sir accepted our requested, gave his quiet consent in spite of his even very busy schedule and other things to deliver his expert talk on the this STDB. So before ending the session to sir, let me have a brief introduction, and I really think it's my privilege that I've got this opportunity to have an introduction of Dr. R.R. Rakesh sir. So Dr. R.R. Rakesh graduated engineering from BIT Sindri in 1985-89. After completing his BTech, he continued his MTech from IIT Kanpur in 91. And after successful completion of MTech, he joined the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, Trombay in 1992. And he completed his PhD in geotechnical engineering from IIT Bombay in 2005. And since joining, he is involved with research and development work on site selection, site characterization, and safety assessment for near surface disposal facilities and geological disposal. Later on, he has been given the additional responsibility of the structural health assessment of old soil structures and construction of soil structures. Currently, he has been involved with design and construction of soil engineering projects for nuclear recycle group at BRC Trombay. Dr. R.R. Rakesh sir is also serving as associate professor at Homi Bhabha National Institute, Anushakti Nagar, Mumbai. He has more than 20 number of publications in international journals and 49 in conferences and symposium. He has also served as members of various CRP Committee of International Atomic Energy Agency. So, sir, once again, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and sir, please share your session, sir.
So, very good morning, Professor sir, and all the participants. Yeah, before starting the presentation, just yesterday night we were talking with Professor Singh. So I came to know there are various professors are attending the sessions from different engineering colleges, some professionals also from different consultancies and different organizations, and above all the very young PhD scholars. So I have tried to make these presentations in a very informative way. But you see, as I am working in nuclear field, so I had some limitations in giving all the data of whatever research we have done. But we have tried that whatever methodology we have developed, that should be known to all the publics, and further research can be done in this particular field. So am I audible to all of you?
Clearly, sir. Clearly audible, sir.
Yes. So now we are just going to start the presentation. So this particular topic is methodology development for contaminant migration rate studies, and this is in 1 week STTP course that is on recent trends in environmental geotechnics for sustainable development, being organized by Indian Geotechnical Society, Ahmedabad, as well as Institution of Engineers, Gujarat. So I am my introduction has already been given to all of you. So just I am starting the presentations.
Sir, if something has been left, please forgive me, sir.
Yes, sir.
If something has been left in your introduction, please forgive me, sir.
No, that is much more than it is required. So you see, just this particular topic is with environmental geotechnics. So what I thought, what is related with our research, that part I have just given. So some slides before giving the actual presentation, just I want to brief. Some slides are a little bit common nature, and only to make how and why we are going from this to our actual research. So radioactive waste, I am talking, it may be radioactive waste, chemical waste, biodegradable waste. You see, the basis of classification depends upon how you are classifying. But generally, it is being classified as solid, liquid, and gaseous. This is a very, very general, brief classification of waste. And again, if you will go sub classification, then so many classifications are there, like household, industrial waste, radioactive waste, biomedical waste, again so many other types. And liquid waste again in further hazardous, non-hazardous, and all the things, again gaseous wastes. But we will restrict ourselves. Our study is related with solid waste disposal. Okay, so whatever I am going to discuss here, that is entirely related with solid waste disposal. So you see, solid waste management strategy. So very first, it is our Rashtrapita Mahatma Gandhi was very much fascinated with this particular idea. So he was doing basic principle all whatever RRR you are seeing. And just for coincidence, my name is also RRR, that is Ravi Ranjan Rakesh, but here triple R is stands for recycle, reduce and reuse. So Mahatma Gandhi was just very much, you can see in the figure, he was reducing the waste generations and again recycling it and reusing. So he was very much fascinated. So now I am coming directly on this strategy. So whatever the solid waste that is being generated, I'm talking about, you see, general waste, not specifically radioactive or chemical waste or hazardous waste. So generally, its management includes either in landfills, that is the basic for landfills where solid municipal wastes are being disposed. Then underground disposal is generally for hazardous waste, chemical waste, some type of chemical waste also, some types of this medicine wastes also are being disposed. But underground disposal is mainly for radioactive waste, and there are two types of disposal modules, we can say, disposal facilities. One is called near surface disposal facilities, second is deep. Depending upon the type of waste, whether it is low and intermediate level solid waste or high level waste, we have to dispose in near surface disposal facilities as well as deep disposal. So near surface, as the terms suggest, it is means only few tens of meter. There is no clear-cut definitions that below 10 meter it will be called deep disposal, or up to 10 meter it is near surface. You see, as per IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, as well as our regulatory body, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, they defines the near surface disposal as disposal within few tens of meters. That is the basic definitions of.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you. I think still, sir, you have not shared the presentation, sir.
Presentation is not available to you, sir?
No, sir.
Just
not
one minute. Just I am trying it. Yes. Presentation हम लोग को नहीं दिख रहा. Present किया. Sir, now it is.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh, so sorry, just I will go.
It's okay, sir. It's okay. Actually, I thought
again one slide before, then I will start. Okay, sir?
Yeah, sir. Please have a slideshow, sir.
Yeah. Just so I am starting from this. Okay, sir. Just wait. Now I think this slide is visible to all of you.
Yes.
So welcome you again. Sorry for inconvenience. That slide was not presentable to you. So this is a topic of this slide is methodology development for contaminant migration rate. So our basic aim, you see, whenever we are disposing the waste, some contaminant may migrate depending upon the type of disposal modules where it has been disposed. So at what rate that these contaminants may migrate in the geo environment, how we can measure it, what is the methodology, and what methodology we have developed, that we are going to discuss in this present topic. Okay, sir? So now
Yes,
just yeah, now I'm going. So just you see waste, whenever we are calling waste, waste can be classified depending upon the basis of classification, like your radioactive waste, hazardous waste, chemical waste, municipal solid waste. And again, then we can go for this liquid waste, solid gaseous waste, solid waste, and all the things. But our basic aim is only whatever we have covered here, it is only restricted to solid waste disposal in the geo environment and its impact, and how we can monitor or how we can determine the rate of migration in the geo environment. So what are the different techniques? We have developed a very simple technique, very reliable, that is applicable in the field, that we are going to discuss here. Okay.
yes, sir, yes.
So you can see that very waste management strategy starts from triple R, that is recycle, reduce, reuse. And we all Indians are very proud that our Rashtrapita was very much associated with this waste management, starting from reducing the waste and then recycling it and reusing it. Also, I have studied in few of his biography that he was very much fascinated with the waste management and all those things. So general strategy is whatever, wherever solid wastes are being generated, depending upon the type of solid waste, we can dispose it in landfills. Generally, municipal solid wastes are being disposed in landfills. Certainly, our after proper treatment, means compaction, segregations, and all those things. Then comes another type of disposal facilities. It is called underground disposal. So in this, generally it is being followed in radioactive waste disposal facilities. There are two types of facilities. One is called near surface disposal. Another called it deep geological disposal. In near surface, as the term defines, it is only up to few tens of meters. That is as per the definitions of IAEA, Atomic Energy Agency, and then our regulatory body also, AERB, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board India. So near surface means few tens of meters. It may be up to 10 meter. We can call it near surface, maybe 15 meter also, but certainly not in terms of hundreds of meter. Deep disposal means the waste which may have to be disposed. I am using the particular word may have, because currently there is no deep disposal of radioactive waste in entire world. And then come incineration. Again, this is a type of management where combustible waste may be incinerated, and then bioremediation, that by using some bacteria. There are some R&Ds going on solid waste management using bioremediation. So you see, solid waste disposal, as we can see, this is a landfill, is generally being practiced. And landfill also, we have seen that by municipal waste, it is being simply thrown out at some designated place, as designated by municipality. And some better management is done in this way, that you have to make a liner, as liner was discussed in the previous lecture by Professor Dalli Naidu of IIT Madras, and then in different layers you have to dispose or manage the different types of waste, and then put a final cap over that. But what happens in such type of disposal? What is happening after the disposal? Once we are disposing, certainly this is the cause, and then its effect will be it is resulting the contaminations in the soil. And if that contaminations further go below it, if it is touching the groundwater, then your groundwater will get contaminated, And this, due to these contaminations of soil, groundwater, it further give effects to danger to habitats, means flora, fauna, even subsurface animals, water bodies, animal like fish and all those things. And finally, in terms of human body is also getting affected. So this is solid waste disposal causes. Now, so basic aim, we have to prevent these contaminations. And how we can prevent? First, for that we have to know the rate of contaminant migration. That is the basic aim. How we will find out the rate of contaminant migration from disposal facility to geo environment. That methodology I will be going to discuss with you in after few slides. So basic aim is for a contaminant migration rate study is we can go general practice is by doing, one is the mathematical modeling, that is by method of diffusion, advection, dispersion equations. You can find out at what rate a contaminant is migrating from the disposal facility to the geo environment, particularly up to the public domain. So mathematical modeling, then lab studies is another way where we are doing some column experiments. In that column, just some soil or geo environment is being simulated, contaminant is being poured from top, and then you just apply the field conditions, simulate the field conditions, and at the bottom just see what is the migration rate. But again, there are always some limitations associated with this. Everything has some plus points, some limitations. And then come in the field studies where if some contaminants are being this, you take out the soil or take out the groundwater sample, analyze it, what is the level of contaminations at time t is equal to 0, and after certain distance at certain time t, you can find out the migration rate. But you see, every methods has some benefits, some limitations. So we can't say that a single method is the best. Like mathematical modeling, there are n number of parameters, like your all geo environment parameters, infiltration rate, rainfall intensity, duration of rainfall, what is the temperature, what is the vegetation growth, what is the type of soil through which a groundwater flow is taking place. So all these things, but that is we can put one single value or give the variations also. But in long run, let us suppose up to 1 kilometer we have to monitor some fractures, maybe you may encounter. So it is just becomes a little bit tricky in doing the mathematical modeling, but certainly that has the benefit that we can get the desired result, desired simulation for even a very long duration, let us suppose for 50 years, 100 years or 1000 years, by computational methods in a very short time. Lab studies has again some limitations, that if contaminants is very sorptive nature, then your column experiment, if you are putting in that column sandy soil, fine, you will get some result. But if you are putting clay type of soil, your contaminants may get sorbed in the media, and it may take very long time to get some results from that column experiments and other experiments. Field studies has some benefits, some limitations again. If contaminant is very sorptive nature, means it is getting sorbed in the geological media, and if the geological media of that particular site where waste are being disposed is clay type of soil, then two things. One is the groundwater flow velocity is very less. Second, due to sorption, effective migration rate is very less. But these are the different techniques through which we can find out the migration rate. Is it okay to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. So now come, what are the different relative advantages and limitations of different methods of contamination migration rate study? Because our main aim is to find out the migration rate. So again, as I discussed in, you see, this is mathematical modeling of some geological media we have done. So parametric variation, these parametric variations, just I am talking, let us suppose some soil density. Okay, then you see at top of this soil profile density is less as we are going depth wise. At 10-meter depth, density will be little bit more compared to this. If you are going a spatial directions at a distance of 500 meter, your density may change. Chemical compositions of soil, your somewhere you may get soil sandy soil, somewhere you may get silty soil, somewhere maybe get clay soil. Again, layered soils, maybe there one layer maybe sand, another layer maybe clay, or mix of the. So there are parametric variations. That is, one is a spatial, means with distance how it is varying. Second is the temporal variations also. Temporal variation, I am just talking about the amount of moisture content present in the soil. You see, the just during summer season, this groundwater table depth goes below, then top of the part of the top of the aquifer becomes unsaturated zone. So in that, migration rate during that summer season is very less, we can say negligible. Even process changes. During rainy season, it is advection dispersion in vertical direction, then flow will be with groundwater due to advection dispersion. But when this geologic media becomes unsaturated soil, that is vadose zone, this phenomena also changes from dispersion, advection dispersion. The migration is being governed by the diffusion only. So these are the things that is maintaining in mathematical modeling for a very long duration, particularly when we are modeling this radionuclide transport for 100 years or 500 years. Maintaining for that much, it little bit becomes difficult. And again, at when there will be summer, when some flood situations will come, so obviously some limitations everywhere. So it is difficult to simulate true field environmental condition, and it changes with time. That your parametric variation changes with time. Now come lab studies. So always varies in experimental conditions compared to field conditions. Field condition density is different in lab. We are just making that simulated field, so their compaction may be different. Again, I just informed that in field variations, there is a scale effect up to very long domain. You may find out the same environment, but in lab scale, whenever you are doing the column experiment, up to a certain dia of your column is there, and it is generally gradually saturated, and generally same type of soil we are providing. So it is again some limitations in lab study also, but these are the different techniques. So important limitations here become the lab scale, experimental scale effect is getting introduced in this lab studies, particularly when you are the migration. Now come in the field studies, when we are doing some experiment to find out the advantages and limitations. So field behavior gives the actual field behavior we'll find, but here the time constraint is the basic these things. If you are seeing some sorptive contaminant, means if contaminant is which is getting sorbed in the geologic media, then even for studying the contaminant or to trace the contaminants from the disposal point to a geologic geo-environment distance of 50 meter, it may take 50 of years, depending upon the what is the type of contaminants, what is the nature of geologic media. As we all know, if sandy soil, very good, your rate of groundwater flow will be very high, but in clay, if you are getting somewhere, it will be very difficult to move the contaminant from one place to another place. So these are the relative advantages and disadvantages of, or we can say relative advantages and limitations of different experimental methods. So how to overcome all those things, how we can find out the migration rate. So before starting my our method, we just did some literature survey. Then we found that somewhere in this literature, people were using this lysimeter for particularly in agriculture field, to just how this whatever fertilizer is being spread in the field, how it is migrating up to the root zone of the different crops and what is its migration rate, how it is further going down. So for that, first I found out that lysimeter application in that study. Then we thought, why not we can try for its application in radionuclide migration studies. Means all are contaminants. So if it is applicable for one type of contaminant, it is applicable to another type of contaminant also. So lysimeter, just before this, just I am simply explaining, it is nothing but it is a simple circular structure. It is like that, and its basic aim is to isolate your experimental domain from the geo-environment. Means your experimental domain, it is being restricted for a small zone. That is the basic aim. So that primitive idea for lysimeter was being used first in agriculture, and nowadays people are using lysimeter to a great extent. And nowadays online monitoring system also in lysimeter, you see people are putting this some sensors at different depths, and inside the lysimeter at different positions some sensors are being introduced, and from data logger online data are being collected, and that is being analyzed in the labs. So this is the basic lysimeter, and here just I will show the experiment of our experimental lysimeter. So this is the basic things. So importance of lysimeter studies, just we are coming. So this particular device which creates a controlled volume, just again I am just giving the figure. Let us suppose this is our lysimeter, we are simply inserting inside the, so our experimental domain becomes a controlled volume. So whatever we are putting the contaminants, how it is migrating in one direction, z direction, because here outside it is not allowed. So that is the controlled volume of experimental becomes for studying various contaminant transport mechanism under in situ condition. But the best thing is that whatever this soil compaction in the field, that exactly the same soil condition, whatever field condition we are getting, if we are continuing this lysi experiment for few years, let us suppose 5 years or 7 years, then we can see the actual environmental conditions of the rainfall, seasonal variation, groundwater table variations, everything is being studied in the actual condition compared to the lab condition where it is being simulated, and in mathematical modeling where again it is being simulated. There it's simulating the exactly field condition, it is comparatively tedious. So that is the very benefit of lysimeter studies. Now come about the field studies. So in field studies, if you are doing, so there is no controlled boundary condition, and cost and time intensive. Just as I briefed, it is a very time consuming if the nature of contaminants and the type of geo-environment is very softive in nature. Even for 50 meter, you have to do the experiment for few tens of years. Okay, so thus we find lysimeter is a comparatively better way. Now come laboratory studies again can't simulate field conditions, spatial variability cannot be taken into account. So lysimetric study, then we found why not we should do our waste experiment, radioactive waste experiment using lysimeter to simulate the in situ conditions with better control on boundary conditions. So that was the thing. So lysimeter identifies as a potential tool for studying contaminant interaction with migration, contaminant interaction with the geo-environment and its migration in the geo-environment. Am I okay or I am going too fast?
Yes, sir.
I think, am I able to explain the things in a nice way, or just I have to go
Yes,
a
sir,
little bit slow?
Definitely.
Okay. So just I will try to go little bit slow because
Yes,
sometimes
sir. Some participants have.
This is a new field, I think. So you see now I am just going. What is the importance of this study? Just I have made a simple first, just by putting this pictorial picture it is easy to understand. So this is a simple waste disposal simulation just I have made. This is the waste. This is the liners we have provided. Means it may be a clay liners, and then it is top cap. It is being provided to protect it from two regions. That direct infiltration is not entering into the waste and disposal. So waste water interaction dispose to avoid the waste water interaction. So that is the basic aim. But you see, as I told, any waste which is being disposed, use the just listen, disposed word I am using means which we can't retrieve it back. So in long term, certainly precipitation which is occurring from top, whatever best cap we are providing, obviously in the nuclear field we are providing so many engineered caps to protect it, that water should not ingress in any case. We are doing the repetitions also, but just after few hundred years, let us suppose if the rainfall enters into this waste module, then what will happen? Wastewater interaction will take place. When wastewater interaction will take place, let us suppose this is a waste pack, I am saying waste pack in some drums. Then this waste will come in contact with water, whatever it is solid, then waste will try to come out through diffusion in the water. Once it has come into the diffusion into water, it may come out from your clay liner as shown in the figures. When it comes out from the waste disposal module, this is the waste disposal modules. When it comes out from the clay liner, what will happen? It will come in unsaturated zone. Then this challenges is very much in modeling of contaminant transport in unsaturated zone, because your density, your water content always vary with depth. With season your water content will vary, your moisture content will vary at the same depth with season. Then due to this your rate of diffusion will change, because rate of diffusion is also a function which is being governed by the presence of moisture content in the geologic media or the geoenvironment. So modeling this zone is very complicated. Even your hydraulic conductivity is a function of moisture content. I am talking about the hydraulic conductivity of unsaturated soil, not for fully saturated. For fully saturated, for a particular type of soil, hydraulic conductivity is a constant value. But for unsaturated soil, it is a function of your moisture content present in the soil. So once when it is reaches in the aquifer or saturated zone, below that I will simple considering as an impermeable layer, then it will migrate from one place to another place. So what are the different again during that migration different processes will take place. So we see that this phenomena, all this disposal, waste disposal, the processes of diffusion in unsaturated zone, migration, we can perform by doing some controlled experimental domain in the geoenvironment. And then we thought feasible solution is that in situ migration experiment, that is lysimeter experiment in the field for studying the contaminant transport in for radioactive waste we had done. But this presentation is mainly we have made it for general, means for any type of waste, same theory is applicable. Okay. So now just I am coming how we are introducing the lysimeter in the field for contaminant migration studies. So you see, this is a very nice different types of disposal modules. But before explaining all these things, this particular picture, this is landfill disposal of Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. Just this is I have taken. You see, if we are not going too much well managed, then this type of generally municipal solid waste disposal in landfill. And if after landfill, then if we can manage it in a very way, you see, this is a municipal solid waste landfill, and after that it has been engineered, and then finally it has nicely developed into a beautiful landscape garden. So we have that technology that can even means whatever waste we can say we can create wealth from this, means we can create a very nice landscape gardening and all those things. Now come different types of disposal modules in radioactive waste management. Generally, in radioactive waste management, as I had briefed in the very second slide of this presentation, there are different types of disposal modules. Generally, three types of disposal modules. First is called a stone line trench, reinforced concrete trench, and tile holes. There are few papers also that is available in internet for Indian radioactive waste program. You can find the details there. But you see very first level waste, that is called category 1 waste, it is being disposed in a stone line trench. Just I am giving some engineering details about this structure. This is simplest, means you can say very low level waste, or you can say simply, actually it is not a waste, susceptible waste, which is only suspected that it is a radioactive waste. Such types of wastes are being disposed here. For to this simple pit is being constructed, then to protect the pit from stability, this is a stone land, all sides it is being done here. This vermiculite or bentonite or any soft soil is being provided, then wastes are being disposed in this in drums, not as in municipal solid waste at disposed here. In engineered overpacks it is being disposed, and then finally some mobile cover it is being also provided, so that direct rain water should not ingress, and then we are providing soft soil cap here, means water should not ingress in this. Now radioactive waste, which is a little bit of higher activities, we are placing such type of things. You see what is the difference between this? This is simple stone land, its structural integrity is comparatively very less. Now we are making it completely RCC structure. This is complete RCC structure. Raft is roughly 500 to 700 mm thick. We are doing the waterproofing. This is top is 350 thick, at bottom again 700. So, and its depth is roughly 4 to 4.5 meter, depending upon the nature of the geo environment at a particular site. Clear? To place the radioactive waste, it is being EOT crane of 10 ton is be provided on the top. It will just come lift the waste from here and it will place it here. Finally, you can see this is a RCC structure. RCC slab is being provided from top. This is means monitoring gallery it is being provided, so that if some water ingress takes place in future, we can extract it from here. So that is the basic what we are doing. What is the major difference? That a structural integrity of this disposal modules has been made very high compared to this. Now come, even the some wastes are very of high active nature, so we have to further strengthen the disposal structure, so that in no case it should ingress, it should come in contact with the water. And you can see it is again roughly 4 to 4.5 meter depth. But what is the major difference? This was a RCC structure, this is entirely different thing. This is a 6 mm carbon steel plate, and then carbon steel plate is just circulated from inside. Also we are providing inside 25 mm thick spun concrete, outside also 25 mm thick spun concrete, followed by outside again waterproofing on these tile holes, just like you can say lysimeter, na? But you see it is bottom, it is just some carbon steel is there, and then it is being in rafts it is made by bolt arrangements, it is being fed into this, and all these are being played in RCC die. So what we are doing, we are providing the structural integrity, we are making it very strong as we are going with higher activity waste. So in this type of things, how we are introducing the lysimeter. So this is first time game. So again, first what are the phenomena we have discussed? If waste will come, it will come in this here when it will flow through groundwater, then advection, dispersion, retardation, and degradation. These are the four mechanisms that is playing role in the groundwater zone. But those zones, just in the two slides before, I have explained what are the functioning, that is the things, means mainly diffusion. But when this contaminant are passing through this groundwater zone, the important governing mechanisms of contaminant transport is, one is the advection, second is the dispersion, third is the retardation, and fourth is the degradation. These are the four governing mechanisms. So processes involved, sorption, just I was briefing, sorption is a very important phenomena that controls the radioactive migration. Sorption is mainly it is a geochemical phenomena. It is a this particular term is combination of adsorption, absorption, and ion exchange. Just I will very brief. I will explain it very briefly. Absorption, which it is a surf body phenomena, means some contaminants is going inside the inside of your migrating media. Adsorption, on the surface it is getting stuck. And ion exchange, what happens now? Let us suppose, just I am giving some practical example. Let us suppose our isotope is cesium, just one practical example, and in soil there is sodium, potassium everywhere. So while migrating, if they find some favorable geo-environmental, means good pH, and all those things, then sometimes what happens, this sodium will go inside the contaminants, and cesium will come from the contaminants, and it will entrap in the geological media or geo-environment, that is ion exchange. So this combined effect of all these things, sorption. What this sorption do? Whenever contaminants try to migrate, this sorption try to reduce the migration rate. That is the basic process involved. And decay and in growth of daughter products, this is only applicable for radioactive waste, because you see each radioisotope has a definite half-life. Each radioisotope has a definite half-life, and as I had informed you people, migration rate of soft-tube radionuclei is very slow in the favorable geoenvironmental condition. Let us suppose for 100 meter it takes 50 years, then few radionuclides may die out itself in natural process, and after certain distance you will never get that radioactive contaminants in the geoenvironment. So that is the things. So this is happening only in radioactive contaminants. Now, that whatever I was discussing in the previous slide, that is, it is related with the geochemical phenomena. Now come about the hydraulic phenomena and all those things. You see, this is the pictorial of some contaminants in the geoenvironment. With time, due to the groundwater flow, these radionuclides, few radionuclides is still here only, few has come up, few has just moved with time. And after certain time means very big time, few tens of years or few hundreds of years, you see few contaminants is still there. Means it may be due to very high sorption or due to decay out itself. Decay out means its chemical composition will be there, but radioactive nature will decay. So that is the things. It is still there. Only few has moved, and few is in the migration state. Means what here I want to emphasize that depending upon the type of contaminants, the migration rate is varying. Again, so migration rate is a function of type of contaminants, geo-environment, hydrogeologic conditions, all those things. So advection, the processes which I had briefed, advection, it is a combination of diffusion plus dispersion. Both this combined effect takes mechanical dispersion, that is it is mainly due to variation in velocity. Because you see, if we are we know, all know that in some pipe or even in river flow, velocity across a particular section varies. So if some contaminants is at a certain depth, its migration rate may different. If it is at the bottom or at very top, its migration rate may different. Now come hydrodynamic dispersion. It is in geologic media. It depends, again, combination of all these things. Some combination of diffusion, dispersion and mechanical dispersion is called hydrodynamic dispersion. I am not going in detail about this, but if our disposal sites is in fractured media, let us suppose somewhere where there is only rocks, then their flow, it will be governed only through the fractured spaces, fractured paths, and only diffusion through that fractures in the geologic media. So this is all about the processes. So am I right till now? The,
Yes.
so now I am coming on the exact topic now, because till now I was giving the how contaminants, solid particularly, waste are found, where it are these solid wastes are being disposed, how it is making the soil and groundwater contaminated. So that was the basic. Now I am coming the experiment details which we had performed at our sites. Okay, so you see, if you people have any query, you can ask in between also. So you see, as I told, this is the top photograph, exact photograph of, this is a lysimeter. You see, simple. This was 3 to 4 mm MS sheet, and its dia is 1200 mm, and depth was also 1.5 mm in our experimental domain. So at one site we had inserted by tapping it. You see, this was, we have not excavated and then put it there and then backfilled the soil. In that way, we are just changing the fabric of the soil, natural soil. So what we did, we just put it here, and from slow tapping, from some load, it just started going inside the geo environment. So in that way, we had inserted into this. Just I will come the details of its instrumentation part, and then you see, this is case we have provided only two, because you see, this experiment was conducted roughly up to 5 years, but here I will share the few of results only for 2 years. So to protect it from some animals, because for very long time dogs and all those things, if we are keeping things in open, they may come and destroy our experimental setup. So for that, protection system was made, and then this was covered when we were coming out of the experiments. So you see, this is a lysimeter. These two tubes are Purpux tube. I will show you the details in later slides. This is for measuring the soil moisture profile, depth, with depth and with season also. Now you see, so one is the lysimeter, is the one instrument. Second instrument is, this is the TDR instrument, we can say, but this is only TDR case. I will show the TDR details. This is the samplers. You see here some photographs also in next slide. You see one, you can see 2, 3. You can see the red portion. This red portion. These are collecting the contaminants in water from various depth. we have inserted this. This is a collectors. This we are keeping it outside. Inside, through this, you see it is a small pipe through which we have inserted it this. So you can see this is our exact sensor, we can say. It has been inserted here. It is at a greater depth. This is these three at a shallower depth. So this first part was the installation of experiment, then TDR probes and samplers. These are the samplers, these are the TDR probes. Then rainfall simulation for first year. What we had did, you can see that in particularly in Mumbai, this rainy season is only during 10th June to 30th September. So, but we can't wait with our experiment for whole year without migrating anything. So what did we did the rainfall simulation also in the very first year of this experiment. Then you can see this, I will show you details. This top soil has been removed for tracer dosing. Tracer dosing means here contaminant dosing, whatever contaminants you want, means contaminants rate of migration. Let us suppose you want some chemical contaminants, you can put chemical contaminants here. Just I will give you how you can insert the contaminants there, that in next few slides it is there. So at this particular depth we had inserted some tracer, means contaminants, and then different techniques were there. From big time we were extracting the water sample from that, and soil sample also from depth, and that water sample and soil sample were analyzed for study. So again in second year rainfall simulation was done, contaminant dosing for reproducibility of the results, pore solution sampling, and then experimental status. So you see, this is the details. This is the cross section of this entire lysimeter. These two tubes, whatever I was just showing, this is for T1 and T2. It is for time data logger to monitor the soil moisture profile with depth. As I told, our experimental, it was total domain, it was 1500 mm we had taken, but here I have shown this 1250. So its dia was 1200. So what is this T1? This T1 and T2, this is for time domain reflectometer to measure the soil moisture profile with depth and with season. So these are the four, S1, S2, S3, S4. You can see S2 and S3 in one that cross section it has come, these two. And so you see with different depths, these are the samplers from which we were extracting the water samples with depth. And you see this top, it was just, I'm again going in the previous slide. You see it is, we had extracted the soil, natural soil, and then then it is filled here. This top 10 centimeter was filled with the sand. Why we had filled in the sand? Because in sand the absorption is very less. Means contaminants will be there, but it will not be sorbed in this particular media. It will be readily available to migrate in this particular geo-environment depending upon the natural geo-environmental conditions. So this was the all about our experimental setup. Is it okay? Because this experimental setup is very important.
Yes, yes.
It is easy to understand, I think.
Sir, can you just brief that actually these were which type of contaminants?
This was radioactive contaminants, but you see, we are working in a nuclear field, so
No, but
we can't explain. That's why I'm saying any type of contaminants can be doped here. Any type of contaminants, depending upon which type of contaminant migration rate you want to study, you find out the contaminant migration rate. For our experiment, it was this radioactive contaminants we had.
So radioactive contaminants are also from 5 types, if I know. Some low type, high type, medium type, then exam type, and something like that, sir.
Yes, yes. Now I will just go only little brief, not too much details. You see, you have just categorized it, but we are mainly interested which contaminant. Means let us suppose whether it is tritium, whether it is cesium, whether it is strontium, means which isotope. Our aim was which isotope, but because I just showed in the previous these things, na, you see, half-life of each isotope is different. Am I right?
Yes.
So what happens now? You see, for cesium it will be different, strontium it will be different, tritium it will be different, cobalt it will be different. So if some very short half-life, it will get decay itself during transportation. Now come, as you discussed about 5 types, means exempt level, rightly said, exempt level waste are there. Then category 1, but in that category also some isotopes we are mainly associated with the which isotope, means chemical composition or radiochemical composition I am interested.
Okay.
Understood?
Yes, yes, sir.
So now come about this. This is the TDR probes. Just these are the TDR sensors. This is the figure of inside. You see same figure. I am just taking the reading. This is the TDR probes. You people must be knowing these are the two sensors. Just insert it at different depths. You can measure. You see we are measuring at what depth we have inserted. This is a scale, longer scale. And then we are finding it, the what is the moisture content. Actually, this data was generated because whatever field experiment we were carrying out, no, same it was being, we had done the modeling to know the result. For modeling this, our moisture content is an important input parameter. So for that, to know that things, we had inserted this. Okay. Now you see these are the details of the instrumentation S1, S2, S3, 4. Again, 4 water sample, 4 water sampling. SS stainless steel ring. This was the lysimeter T1, T2. This sorry, T1 and T2. This is this moisture probe, TDRs, and this is the groundwater table depth. This is one, and U is the unsaturated soil. This is the instrumentation details or parametric details we can say. Now you see instrumentation. About the samplers details I am coming. This is I am very thankful to Professor Singh because he was the mentor of this experiment. So you see very nicely these things. Whatever here it is shown. This is a, you can say, column we have made. Inside it is soil. This thimble, ceramic thimble is there. We have inserted this. You can say this is a glass tubes, perfect tubes. So you can see this is a glass here. Is it visible to all?
Yes, sir. Clearly visible, sir.
Yes, yes. And you see, we have just put it from this thimble. Now you see, this is a flexible rubber tube. You can see this is a rubber tube. This is, and this is through this, it has inserted and gone up to this particular point. This is a sample collector. And from, you see, again it is coming red. Whatever it was shown in this experimental, some red was there. Its second is, it is being second, you see, second tube. From this it is being connected to a vacuum creator, means suction creator. So you see, because this it was not completely saturated soil, so you can't extract the groundwater from a unsaturated soil. So the best method is to create suction in this sampler. And then what was happening, we were using this MITVAC suction 100 kPa. It was very hand operated, and then whatever this moisture content around this, it was being collected. It was coming out from here, it was being collected in this particular sample collector. And from this sample collector, we were just taking out hardly, practically just I am saying, we were able to get only 2 to 3 ml of water in this. And that whatever water we were extracting, it was being analyzed in radiochemical labs, that what is the contaminant concentration, whether still it has reached at different depths or not. At what depth we are getting today or tomorrow or after 1 year or after 2 years. So in that way, and what is the concentration we are getting. So this continuous data on contaminant release, movement and moisture variation can be obtained over a period of time by doing this section sampler as well as this complete experimental setup. So this is the complete experimental details. You see, just I had told how you are going to dose the contaminants. You see, this is the contaminant dosing after 10. We have put sand here, and then contaminant are doped on the sand, so that should not soak the media. That should allow to pass the media. And these are the samplers. Just you can see the rubber tubes and all those things. Okay. And then contaminant loading simulations, I have not given the exact value due to our official directives. So you see, this experiment was done in two separate lysimeter at two different places. So apart from some radioactive inactive salts also we had done, because we can't put too much contaminants, radioactive contaminants in the soil. So inactive plus active soil, inactive plus active, both same cesium were introduced at different places, but maximum was inactive, because function of migration, whether it is active cesium or inactive cesium, means different isotopes, it will be same. It will not see that only radioactive cesium will move and no, inactive cesium will not move. It is not like that. So different isotopes was introduced, and then at different depths we had just measured, find out the water samples, and it was analyzed in the labs. Now you see, just I am giving the result, tritium activity. This is the time in days. This is the different depths. This is the different concentration. So what we have found at 40 centimeter depth, because you see initially it gone, and roughly these are the two setups, roughly after 40 days now we got that tritium has migrated up to 40 centimeter, because our maximum sampler depth was 40 centimeter. So all tritium has reached in 40 centimeter roughly after 20 days. So that is the one observation. So you can say roughly what is the migration rate? 40 centimeter in 20 days. So roughly 2 centimeter per day is the migration rate for tritium. But as I told, we are mainly interested with the different isotopes. So one isotope is tritium. Here just I want to brief you all. Tritium is nothing but simple water. It is not getting soaked in the geologic media. So its migration rate is very much equivalent to this your simple groundwater flow. So this is only vertical, one dimensional vertical migration under rainfall simulated conditions. Now come, we had also introduced this cesium. I think now we have 15 minutes. So within 5-7 minutes, just I will stop, and then we will go for question and answer sessions. So what happened to other contaminants? Because other contaminants was not observed in our groundwater sample. So you see, very beautiful. This is the inside of the core details. Inside of the experimental domain core we had extracted up to 1.5 meter, and then we analyzed the solid samples. Whatever soil core that was analyzed, what is the concentration in that soil. So what we found, as I had told, between 10 to 20 centimeter. Here we had put the sand, and in this zone we had put the contaminants. So you see, after 500 days, this is the results. Still all, you see, this is cesium is for this green. This was the concentration. Initially it was put, and this is pink is for red color, and yes. So this was the initial concentration of cesium. This much in this domain only it was put. Still here it is there. Hardly any cesium has moved even up to 50 centimeter depth, even after 500 days. Means what we can say, this cesium and even cobalt, it was still in the same zone. You can see cesium profile is this, means all cesium is roughly is in same zone, but hardly something has moved up to 55 centimeter in 500 days. Same thing is cobalt. This was the cobalt initial dose, but it has moved up to this. Why? it is coming down because its half-life is very only 5 years. This is 30 years. So in 500 days, roughly 1.5, roughly few cobalt has die out also. So that is the thing. So outcome of this study that lysimeter is a good methodology, and instrumentation what we have applied here, methodology and instrumentation developed for modeling in situ contaminant migration at the experimental site is working very well. Results are found to be quite promising, and the study generates an innovative tool for determining the contaminant migration rate in field conditions. So this was the outcome of the study. Means I want to explain that using this lysimeter we can find out the migration rate of contaminants, any type of contaminants in the field condition. That was the basic aim. So there are some publications relate on this, and then as I told, that time I was doing PhD also. So all these publications are few are with BERC, few are with Professor DNC, who is the mentor in environmental geotechnics, we can say, in India. So these are the three main publications. And then now we are open for discussion and question sessions. Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Now, participants, please, you can have your.
Just 1 second, sir. Just I'm calling my son to just.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir. Now we can start.
Yes.
So interactive. Interactive means face.
Any questions from the participants?
No, उसको minimize कर.
Preeti, you wanted to ask something? Preeti Mishra. Yes, sir. I think now we are live in interactive discussion session. Yes, sir. Yes. Presentation mode. Yes, Payal, you can ask your question. Unmute your mic, Payal.
Sir, lysimeter is used for both hazardous and non-hazardous waste.
Yes, as I very briefly told, it is a technique. It can be used any type of waste, whether it is hazardous, non-hazardous, chemical, municipal solid waste, or any type of waste it can be used. Because you see, this method is a general method. It is not a waste-specific method. Sir, in your present study which you have shown, the particular waste which you had used, the radioactive waste. Yes, sir. That is what I mean to ask, it's a fresh waste, or it is already the waste which has been stored at some place, or? Yes, just you see, sir, whatever waste we are being disposed, now it is only solid immobilized waste in this. Only solid immobilized waste. But here in this, you see, when I was doping, we have put in liquid waste because we had taken some tracer from our office. Means there are different sections for that tracers, and that tracer was dissolved in this water, and then we had to spread it. Means it is ready to move, because you see every effort are being taken that whatever waste we are disposing, it should be always be isolated there, always be isolated there. But our aim was to find out the migration rate in given experimental time. Experimental time we can't put sir 15 years or 20 years. Yes. So for that we had put the waste form in mobile form, means in a liquid form. But actually disposal is only in solid form. So here our waste form was liquid, isotope was same. Isotope was same. So only difference is that in experimental study, our waste form was liquid, isotope was same. But in disposal, again isotope remains same, but is in solid form, that is immobile form. Okay. And sir, any diffusion which is taking place within that isotopes? Yes, sir. We had it done, but for that we had done this experimental study. We had made some cells, and one out of these two part cells openable. One side we had put contaminants, another side fresh soil. We joined it together, and then we had put different sample holes. With time we were extracting and then finding out how it is diffusing up to what depth and at what time. So that it was being done. So but that was a lab studies, not in field studies. I have one paper with Professor DNC on that diffusion of different radioactive contaminants in International Journal GEG,
Okay.
Journal of Geotechnical Engineering.
Sir, just as a common curiosity,
Yes, yes.
want to know that because we generally get very rare opportunity to interact with scientists working in this field.
Yes.
So presently, India is also having a very big, big exercises going in this field.
Yes.
So, and the various types of this waste have been generated. So, just as a curiosity, wanted to know that particularly what scope we as an engineer, particularly in geotechnics, have to be associated if we really want to do some research in this field.
You see, there is very good research field is available like this. You see, how we can further strengthen the disposal modules. That is on basic, because you see, basic aim is to prevent the contaminant release and transport. So how we can do two things. First is the thing waste form. Whatever waste form is there, we have to make it immobile. We have to make the waste form immobile. That is the thing. So that let us suppose this is the waste form, it is in solid form. Waste should not come out from this in any case. That is the things. And second thing, even if it has come into this, it is being placed in different types of disposal modules, as I showed SLT, RCT, tile holes. So how we can further strengthening that one. That is the second of these things. So in any case, for very long duration just means I am not talking few tens of years, few hundreds of years. Waste should be isolated there only. I am simulating another today's environment. You see, like this corona environment. What is the basic principle? Quarantine yourself. Basic principle. Quarantine yourself means you isolate yourself from the society so that this cannot spread to the others. Exactly similar simulation is being done in all type of waste management, whether radioactive or quarantine itself, isolate itself from the geo environment. So research field, you have research field maybe 2 types or 3 types, whatever. First, how the waste form can further made immobile. Second, how you can strengthen your geo environment. Third, how you can strengthen your engineered structure, that is the disposal module. Geo environment means I am talking, let us suppose your soil, natural soil is very poor, some rocky soil. Outside that, you can place some backfill materials, which is very good sorption. Even means it has come into out of this disposal module, some waste. It should be tried to solve in that backfill material surrounded around the disposal modules. So that is one another.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. So any more questions from participants?
Yes.
Okay, sir. I think there is no more questions.
Presentation. So I think was it useful to, I think participants have tried to make it.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Your lecture was really very interesting, and totally it's a new topic also. I told you because we get a very rare opportunity to interact with scientists like you, particularly in this domain. So once again, on the behalf of Applied Mechanics Department, Sir, LD College of Engineering, I am really very much thankful that you humbly accepted our invitation and gave your kind consent to deliver an expert lecture. And really today it is a dream that you are with us, sir. Actually, I was really bit worried also